I speak to you in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Please be seated. Well, my friends, this is one of those Sundays where it is such a temptation to put 20 pounds of feed in a 10-pound bag. There is something here for everybody, and I could talk for the next hour about all the different tidbits in these readings. I have to stop myself. So if there's something that I don't say today that you're like, oh, I wish she would have said it, say it to yourself, okay? Because that may be the Holy Spirit prompting you to do a little self-preaching, and that's okay. But the piece that speaks loudest to me today is this Old Testament reading about the call of Moses. And I'll tell you why it's speaking so loud, I think. It's because we are back. I am looking at faces, whole faces. Last Sunday, the vestry made the announcement, but this Sunday we've had more time to get the word out. So I'm seeing faces that I literally have not seen in 2 years. Mary Ellen, I think the last time I saw you, maybe we were recording the Te Deum thing for Trinity Sunday in 2020. Oh, I missed you. I miss all of you. And even those of you that I've seen, I'm trying to remember what you look like. So here we are starting to get a sense of what it's like to be a community again. And that can be very disorienting because we want things to go back to normal, but normal left the barn 2 years ago. In fact, for us at Trinity, normal left the barn before that. We haven't had a real normal, really, since about 2018, because we had a sabbatical in there. I broke my ankle. You remember when we were doing communion and the altar was down there and I was in a wheelchair? And we've been through it, haven't we? It's crazy what all has happened. But here we have this story about Moses, who has also been through it. This man who was raised in the palace saw the plight of the Israelites and discovered an affinity for them that surprised him, realizing how much it bothered him that they were being so poorly treated. And when he did that, he acted out, killed a man, and ran away. And he is trying to figure out what normal is now. He's now working for his father-in-law as a shepherd. And you can imagine that transition, that shift would have been hard to swallow. To leave that posh lifestyle with that power and that privilege. I could imagine the amount of energy Moses could have been spending on getting used to shepherd life. I wonder what was on his mind as he was tending the sheep. What train of thought was interrupted by this burning bush? As we see, the burning bush was happening, right? And then Moses says, I need to go check that out. I need to see what's going on over there. And that's when God speaks. God sends him this sign. But it isn't until Moses pays attention to the sign that God starts this conversation. And you could imagine that as the conversation gets deeper, Moses wishes he had kept walking. Twice he tries to back out. Who do I say is sending me? If they ask for your name, what do I say? And then he pulls the, oh, little old me sort of thing. Oh, I could never. I'm just Moses. And God says, don't worry. I'll handle all of that. And we know the rest of the story. We know that he goes, we know that he performs miracles in court in his former home, to people that he used to be in the same household with. We know about him leading the Israelites out of slavery. We know all of that other stuff that's coming. But it all started with Moses paying attention and being willing to turn aside from the path that he thought that he was on. So as we are getting used to something of a new normal, we should pay attention as well. Let's not put ourselves on autopilot and say, oh, well, this was my, I don't remember where people used to sit, so I'm not looking at anybody and saying you're in the same pew. But who here, don't raise your hand, walked in and went to your pew? Who here walked in and was glad to have that comfort, this building wrap around you? To be here and soak that in, that familiarity, that wonderful gift that is our worship space. I know that when I first came back, when the clergy were allowed to come in and lead worship again, it was like a weight was lifted off of my shoulders. It felt so good to be back. It felt so good to sit in my chair. It felt so good to get behind our altar. There are certain things for sure that are part of our rhythm that continue to nourish us. But it's also good to pay attention to how God may be calling us to readjust. How is God calling us to try something new? Because I promise you, things have changed. It'll be evident when, the sound system is different. I don't know if you can hear the difference, but it was rewired over the summer. You'll notice that it will feel different to come forward and receive the sacrament standing up on your own 2 feet instead of kneeling at the communion rail. You will notice new people. Usually, the 8 o'clock service, even though it has been very small, has been also very lively. Our babies are not here today. Next week, they'll probably be back, and it will be lively again. I mean, you guys are lively enough. I'm glad you're here. But you don't tend to compete with me during the sermon. There are all these little pieces that are also signs that things are changing, have changed, and will change. But that's okay, because that means that God is active in us as well. The first thing we need to do is pay attention. Look around. Now, I'm not seeing any burning bushes in the room, but there are other ways that God gets our attention, aren't there? Isn't it amazing how God keeps working on us? So, as we get used to interacting again, not trying to emote, especially through a mask, I think my eyes have gotten like 10 times bigger and more expressive over the last 2 years because it's all I had to communicate with people non-verbally. That as we pay attention to those pieces, what is God calling you to do next? Because this is a place of sanctuary, a place of rest, but it's a sanctuary with a purpose. We gather our energy to go out into the world and do more on behalf of Christ. We come here to renew our strength so we can go out there and love better. We come here to remind ourselves who we are and to whom we belong, so when we go out into the world and the world tries to tell us that we are only what we do or how much we make or what color our skin is or whatever the demographic is, our age, our height, our gender, the world tells us all of these things are the most important things, and God says no. What is the most important thing is that you are my beloved. That you, each one of you, belongs to God. That God has adopted you in baptism, and that is your core identity, and everything else is details. God reminded Moses that Moses belonged to God. And that what God was calling Moses to do, even though it was scary, even though Moses was under-equipped, underconfident, would really rather just go tend sheep now, thank you very much, God, I've had enough adventure for a lifetime. Even though all those things were happening, God said, don't worry, I got you. So hear that message now. God's got you. But God also won't leave you alone. Now, he won't leave you alone in the way that he won't abandon you. You know, we all love hearing that, right? But he also won't leave you alone like that kid's sibling that keeps flicking you in the back of the car. And your dad says, stop it or I'm going to pull over. God won't leave you alone that way either. God's still next to you saying, I got something for you to do. I'm not done with you yet. So, as you walk around this space, the hallway, the parish hall, as you go home, you have your day to day, pay attention. What is God saying? And where is God calling you to do your ministry next?